We'll start our session now. And our session chairperson is Dr. Professor Arvind Pandey. He is a former director of National Institute of Medical Statistics, ICMR, New Delhi. He is prior to that, he has worked as a professor at International Institute for Population Sciences, Bombay. He has I need not introduce many of the things. You all know him. He is very familiar to us and very known person in the field of demography. He was a panelist for the census session yesterday, and our rapporteur is Dr. Suryakant Yadav. He is assistant professor in the Department of Development Studies. His research areas are in development, mortality and inequality and poverty. And the discussant, I'm the discussant. I'm associate professor in the Department of Development Studies. My interest areas are in fertility, family planning, RCH, and on development issues. Professor Pandey, I would request you to take on the complete session, and you can decide how it should be going on, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Manoj, for very nice introduction of the session and also ourselves. This is after lunch session. One thing I would like to know, how many papers are there to be presented this session, so that we can decide. And we have 1.5 hours, I suppose, no?
Yes, sir.
1 hour or 1.5 hours?
1.5 hours, sir.
1.5 hours. So how many papers are there? Do you have a list?
Sir, 5, sir.
I've shared with you in Gmail.
Huh? Have you sent
list also?
List you have sent to me?
Yeah, Gmail ID.
Okay. Let me check, then I shall get back to you.
Sorry, Manoj sir, sorry.
Manoj has not sent the list. He has sent the list of only, chair, discussant, and rapporteur. In that, I want to know what are the presenters.
Sir, I will tell you. So give me 1 minute.
Yeah, I got it. This also I got.
Yes, sir.
Okay. There are 5 papers.
Yes, sir.
First paper is, does changing lifestyle and other health related issues has any effect on non-communicable diseases among men and women in India? This is the one. I think Anuj Singh and Nilesh Yadav are the authors, and Anuj would be presenting. Second paper is measuring and decomposing inequalities in mental disorders among elderly in 5 low and middle income countries. That is by Naseem Ahmad Mandal. And the third paper is Health Belief, model-based community education intervention on breast cancer awareness and practices among women, especially in low socioeconomic areas of Mumbai. Ranjan Kumar Prusti. Then fourth paper is mapping the hotspot of lifestyle diseases using geospatial technique, a case study of Kerala. That is by Livina R.S., Vinkit Surya, and D. Aparna G. Then fifth paper is anthropometric risk factors of non-communicable diseases among the elderly population of India. Evidence from Lasi Wave 1. That is by Madhav Brahmankar, no? Yeah, Nandlal Misra and Gursimran Singh Rana. Okay. So these are the 5 papers, and we have 90 minutes. Okay. So can we give 10 minutes to everyone for presentation? Then after that, we can give 5 to 7 minutes to each paper for discussion.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Manoj, will that be okay?
Yes, sir.
So,
yes, sir.
So we can begin with the presentation that first presenter can make. Anuj?
Yes, sir.
Now it is your floor to you.
Okay. Good evening, sir. My slide is visible.
Yeah.
Okay.
There is some patch coming over that.
Face.
Anuj, just minimize the Cisco WebEx here.
Which one, sir?
There is a right side, there is a patch coming. So your
Hello,
titles are
Anuj.
hiding within that.
Hello, Anuj.
Yes, sir.
Sir, on your screen, just one of the tab is open. Just minimize this tab on the
Mini
right side.
on the right side, on the
Yes.
right side, what I have to show?
Sir, one tab is open. That's why we can't see your screen properly.
Okay, चलो ठीक है कोई बात नहीं. चलो go ahead.
Okay. Uh, good evening, everyone. Am I going? Can I go?
Yes,
Yeah,
Yes, yes.
please go ahead.
Okay. Good evening, sir. Uh, I am Anuj Singh, research scholar of BHU, and my title of the paper is Does Changing Lifestyle and Other Health-Related Issues Have Any Effect on the Non-Communicable Disease Among Men and Women in India? In lifestyle, I have taken consumption of smoking, alcohol, and tobacco, and health-related issues, I have taken body mass index, blood pressure, glucose level, and hemoglobin level. And my content is introduction, literature review, need for the study, objectives, data and methods, result, and summary and conclusion. Now comes to the introduction, non-communicable disease. Non-communicable disease, mainly cardiovascular disease, cancer, chronic respiratory disease, and diabetes are the world's biggest killer. More than 36 million people die annually from NCD, which is 63% of the global death, including more than 14 million people died too young between the age 30 and 70, according to WHO report 2013. According to WHO, NCDs are estimated to account for 53% of all death in India in 2008. Cardiovascular disease, respiratory disease, and diabetes accounts for 24%, 11%, and 2% of
Anuj, I
total.
would suggest don't give introduction. You just tell your objective and the research question and then method and data and then give the result.
Okay,
Then it
sir.
will be better. We are
Okay,
all
sir.
aware of its importance.
Okay, sir.
Okay?
Okay, sir.
Please.
Uh, my slide is not moving actually. Okay. This is my one important literature reviews. Buffett et al. His important finding is the occurrence of non-communicable disease has greatly increased in low and middle income countries, particularly in Asia. Ramchand et al. In 2001, he gives diabetes shows a positive and independent association with age, BMI, physical activity, and familiar history of diabetes. Agrawal et al. In 2016, his finding is they further noted urban locality, smoking, passive exposure to tobacco, smoke, and combustion of domestic cooking fuel to be significantly associated respiratory disease. And Yusuf Sinath and Sonia 2001, his finding is changing lifestyle. The number of people with diabetes, obesity or high blood pressure may increase, suggesting that the increase in CVD, that is cardiovascular disease. Why need for this study? Since we know that the non-communicable disease are globally affecting the human being and its situation is worse, particularly in developing countries. One of the most striking shift is that the non-communicable disease, that is asthma, diabetes, and heart disease, have overtaken the infectious disease, and now it become the world leading cause of mortality. And the adequate knowledge about this disease and associated risk factor will be helpful to prevent and cure such disease, and also can be used for various policy making. My objective, I have two objectives. First, to examine the prevalence of NCDs, that is diabetes, asthma, and heart disease among men and women in India and their associated risk factor. And my second objective is to examine the association of NCDs with socioeconomic and demographic factor, lifestyle factor, and other health-related issues among men and women in India. and my date now comes to the data source and methodology. Data source I have used NFHS round 4, that is 2015-16 data, and methodology I have used two methods, bivariate analysis and binary logistic regression. Bivariate analysis has been used to know the prevalence of NCDs and their associated risk factors among men and women in India. And binary logistic regression I have used to understand the association of these NCDs with socioeconomic, lifestyle, and other health-related issues factors. Now comes to the result. Here, this graph shows the picture shows the interesting result that out of three NCDs, two NCDs we have higher among women. That is for asthma and heart disease. It is higher among women according to NFHS 4 data. And this is with region where we can see that the southern region have higher prevalence of all three NCDs, that is diabetes, asthma, and heart disease for both men and women, followed by eastern region. And next graph, this shows the NCDs with age. Here we can see that as age increases, the prevalence of NCDs increases for both men and women in India, and it is highest for 45 to 58, 54 age group for men, and for women it is higher for 45 to 49 women age group. Now this with religion. Here we can see that the prevalence of NCDs for both men and women is higher among Christian community. And next comes to the prevalence of this
just
NCD.
hold on. पहले वाला दिखाओ.
Yes, sir.
हाँ. You are saying it is more among Christians,
Yes, sir.
but have you seen the samples? Sample spread and other thing, which is it is all India data.
All India. Yes, sir. All India data.
So you have to compare only those areas where they are coming from.
Yes, sir.
Don't take all India. Suppose they are from only Kerala or Tamil Nadu.
Okay.
So they will be comparable only with the Kerala population, not the population which is other places. Anyway, चलो ठीक है, बता क्या हो.
Okay, sir. Next, prevalence of these NCDs by lifestyle factor. I have taken lifestyle factor. I have taken consumption of smoking, tobacco, and alcohol, where we can see that the prevalence of NCDs higher among alcohol consumption persons as compared to tobacco and smoking for both men and women in India. Next, by health issues. That is, this graph showed that for first we see for BMI, that is body mass index, we can see that the overweight and obese for both men and women have higher prevalence of all three NCDs. And now with glucose level, where we can see that the very high glucose level have higher prevalence, and here we can see that the glucose level, we know that glucose and diabetes are positively correlated, as so that's my graph shows. And next is with blood pressure. Here we can see that the HBP1 and HBP2 have higher prevalence of NCDs for both men and women in India. And with hemoglobin level for men, we can see that the moderate and severe level have higher prevalence of NCDs. And now comes to the association. The association of these NCDs with socioeconomic, lifestyle, and other related issues. Where I found that there was significant association of NCDs with socioeconomic, lifestyle factors, and other health-related issues in India. And among men and women, it is found to be very significant. That is, the odd of diabetes, asthma, and heart disease increase with advancement in age. In case of religion, it is found that the Christian community have highest significance for all diseases for both men and women in India. In case of religion, it is found that southern region have highly significant for almost all disease among both men and women in India. And lifestyle factor, it is found that it is significant for both men and women, but for women it is significant for almost all diseases and other health-related issues. In case of women, the overweight and obese men and women have higher significance of all three NCDs. In case of glucose level, we found that a very high glucose level are highly significant for diabetes for both men and women. In case of blood pressure, it is found that it is significant for significant among women from pre-hypertension to HBP2. And my summary of the summary is the prevalence of NCDs varies by social, demographic, and economic characteristics for both men and women in India. And lifestyle factor, that is consumption of tobacco, smoking, and alcohol, are prominent risk factors for all three NCDs. And other health issues such as BMI, glucose level, blood pressure, and anemia plays significant role for all three NCDs. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you very much for very timely making presentation. I think we can take question at the end, or should we discuss right now? What is the view, Dr. Manoj?
Sir, I think we have been taking it at the last, but if you feel that will be having time, then we can take it now also, sir.
We can take, because people may forget by
Yes,
the
sir.
time.
But, yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So we'll give 5 minutes, because
Yes, sir.
he has timely finished, so we can give 5 minutes to his
Okay.
papers.
Okay. Okay.
So now you can raise hand, anyone.
Sir, one more thing. There are attendees also. They are not in the panelist
Okay. So they can write in their chat box.
chat box. Yes, sir.
Oh, they can write. In the chat box, I have not seen anyone writing.
Yes, sir.
So Anuj,
Yes, sir.
since participants are not having the privilege to ask you questions, they will be writing in the chat box, which will be given to you. But I can just ask you, why you are feeling that this is important? This, religion per se, the difference you are finding in the NCD risk factor. Why? Could you get answer from this data?
Sir, I have studied some literature where I
No,
see that
not literature, from the data.
maybe the lifestyle factor, they have consumption of alcohol and non-veg have higher among Christian community. That's maybe the reason.
No, did you try to consider your variables from the data?
Variable.
Is there some special dimension into that? The people of that area where these Christians are coming from,
Yes, sir.
you can see the counterpart from that area. Like if they are coming mostly from, say, Tamil Nadu and Kerala, you can consider only those states and compare, see whether they are still, and you can adjust for the education. If they are in white collar job or they are not in white collar job, then that kind of differences may be there. So you need to adjust for that.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir. Sure, I will.
Because spatial dimension is very, very important in such situation where population is concentrated in certain areas. If population,
Okay, sir.
Christian population may be in the tribal area. There
Yes,
they are
sir.
not having that lifestyle disease which you are thinking. They
Yes,
may be
sir.
having different region. So if you can consider region
Okay, sir.
as a variable, if you can create a variable giving the identification of the place where they are coming from, and then see whether it is across or only in certain pockets.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir. I will.
Like in Orissa tribes, they are
Yes, sir.
Christians, many of them are Christians, whether they also have the similar problem or only Madhya Pradesh or in Delhi, the people because of education, because of their life, job, their job is different. So that is very,
Sure,
very,
sure,
very
sir. I will.
okay.
Sure,
चलो ठीक है,
sure,
अभी और कोई क्वेश्चन आएगा, they
Yes,
will
sir.
ask you. Thank you very much, but try to improve this one. Okay. Good, good.
Okay,
Okay,
sir.
then.
Okay, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, Anuj. Now let us go for the second one. Second one is
Okay, sir.
Dr. Naseem Ahmad Mondal, measuring and decomposing inequalities in mental disorders among elderly in 5 low and middle income countries. Evidence from WHO says.
Sir, I think he's not present. So we can go for the next one. Sir.
So Naseem is not there. So Ranjan is there.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Ranjan, his paper is Health Belief Model Based Community Education Intervention on Breast Cancer Awareness and Practices Among Women. A study in low socioeconomic area of Mumbai. Oh, you could find low socioeconomic area. Good. So Ranjan, it is your turn.
Yeah, thank you so much, sir. At the outset, it's very good to back to IAPS forum. I would like to thank all the organizers for giving me this opportunity to present this paper. The paper I'm going to present is a part of an intervention study that is conducted in GT South ward of Mumbai, which is a slum area, basically. So it is the principal investigator of this study is Dr. Saina Begum, and I'm presenting part of one of the paper out of this project. So
Are you
the
from
study.
NIRRH?
Yes,
You
sir.
are
I'm
from
scientific.
NIRRH.
Yes, sir.
Okay, okay, okay. Good, good.
So the title of the paper is Health Belief Model Based Community Education Interventions on breast cancer awareness practices uh, among women, a study in low socioeconomic area of Mumbai. And this study is basically collaborative effort with our Department of Clinical Research, Dr. Anusri Patil, as well as from a professor from Tata Memorial Hospital, as well as BMC. So as you know, that cancer incidents are actually growing at a very rapid rate across the globe, and this transition is actually most striking among the developing country like India. So around 2.5 million estimated individuals are living with cancer, and it is in India, and it is contributing to around 8.3 estimated total deaths in India. Talking about breast cancer is the leading cancer among female in India, and it is contributing to very high mortality rate in India. If you compare with other developed countries, the incidents are higher. For example, in UK, the incidents are 95 for 1 lakh population, whereas in India it is around 26. But the mortality rate is higher in India because of the late detection.
रजनीश जी वो प्रॉब्लम परसिस्ट कर रहा है बीच बीच
Sorry, sir. Can you hear me, sir?
सिटी व्यू अपार्टमेंट सेक्टर 35 हाँ जी अभी हुआ था अभी फिर ठीक हुआ ऐसे चल रहा है जरा चेक कर लिए ना प्लीज
So, several studies showed that majority of breast cancer in Western country reported at stage 1 and stage 2. That means early detection is there. Whereas in India, around 46% of these are reported in advanced stage. So, early diagnosis is very much important and highlighted by most researchers as the pathways to save life and acts as an important method to improve medical condition. So the late detection or late diagnosis arises due to different factors as per the literatures. One is non-existence of high quality and primary level screening. Although we have a national program on control of cancer, cardiovascular disease, but this is implemented only in 100 districts, and implementation has not gone through that depth. And other important aspect is still there is heavy burden on the tertiary care hospital like Tata Memorial Hospital. Of course, we have recently few regional treatment centers, but these are not sufficient because of the high case loads. It is and there is also high out-of-pocket expenditure for cancer expenses and participation of women in the existing program because of lack of awareness, which is also found by different studies about there are awareness level is very basically low about signs, symptoms, and risk factors. So to our best of knowledge, there are cross-sectional studies which shows that low knowledge about breast cancer, but there is no intervention study which is conducted in Mumbai to find out whether there is improvement in the breast cancer knowledge through IC, in information education communication, or health education intervention. So other important aspect in this study, what we are doing is we are involving in the primary healthcare facility, that is the health post, probably maternity health post, and the community health worker in this study. So in that term, we are testing whether through this primary health care facility, we could able to do the early screening or early breast cancer screening. So the aim of the study is to improve breast cancer awareness and practices among women using breast cancer information, education, and communication model, and health education session for women as well as primary healthcare providers, because they will also be helping the women in screening using the health system approach in low socioeconomic area of Mumbai. The specific objective are to develop intervention model to create awareness about breast cancer and breast self-examination among women, and to train the healthcare providers as well. The second objective is to study change in level of knowledge about breast cancer, breast self-examination, and healthcare worker, to assess the adherence of breast self-examination and to identify the barriers. And the last objective is to assess the utilization of clinical breast examination services at the health facility and the barriers. So for this study, we have a pre-post intervention study design at the G South ward of Mumbai, that is the Prabhadevi maternity home and health post that is there in the G South ward of Mumbai. The baseline for the data collection part, we have conducted the baseline and endline survey to see the changes in health education changes after the intervention to women as well as the healthcare worker. For healthcare worker, we conducted a pre-post intervention survey from them. So the baseline survey was conducted between November 2018 to March 2019, and the intervention was given in May to October 2019, and the inline study was conducted during December to March. We are also conducting some camps for the women, but unfortunately due to COVID, we have to stop it. So the inclusion criteria of the women is basically 18 to 55-year-old women from that particular area. And the exclusion criteria is those who have already diagnosed with breast cancer and under treatment, or the woman is a pregnant woman or lactating woman. So we first, what we've done, we have done pamphlets. We have developed pamphlets in English, Hindi, and Marathi for these two distributed among the community as well as the women. And we also conducted intervention with using flip charts as well as PPTs. For this, in this flip, this is one page of the flip chart, which has a pictorial view, which is for the client. And for the project staff or the whoever is providing the intervention, in the backside we have mentioned the instructions. So this is a few photographs that is the intervention that is conducted through PPT by experts from Tata Memorial Hospital to the women, and this is for the health workers. So we also use for the practical purpose where breast self-examination, we use Mama Care model from US and for the purpose of intervention and practical learning. So this is the intervention schedule that we have fixed for both the women and health workers. I'll not go into details in the interest of time. So this sample size was considering 53% of prevalence rate and 5% level of significance, 20% non-response rate was 480. Of course, we have also calculated the sample for the intervention objective, which was 446, considering we consider 10% increase in the health knowledge. So we conducted in the area, we conducted mapping listing operation, then we prepared a list of eligible women, then we conducted a systematic random sampling procedure for the 480 eligible women. Wherever in a household there are more than one woman, we use CRIS-grid method. And also we use our tools were basically prepared in English first, then there are a group of expert of gynecologists as well as oncologists, and also from social science. So they were prepared the questionnaire. The questionnaire had two parts: socioeconomic background for the baseline only, and the breast cancer knowledge and practices So we trained the field investigator, we conducted the regular back check and as well as spot checks. And the questionnaire was first translated in Hindi, English, and also pre-tested and then revised. So the dependent variable for this paper is we are taking into consideration a knowledge about signs and symptoms and risk factors of breast cancer. For signs and symptoms, we have taken 10 indicators, and for the knowledge of risk factors, we have taken 13 indicators. All these indicators are binary variable, considering whether they know or don't know. If they know, the score is 1. So the independent variable are very different socioeconomic variable like age, religion, caste, year of schooling, employment status. And the data was analyzed using SPSS. And for the changes in the breast cancer knowledge level, we used t-test to see net difference in mean score, and other descriptive statistics were used for the study. So coming into the result, if you see the in the baseline is in blue bar, which shows that the knowledge about different breast cancer signs and symptoms were low. And after the intervention, for example, a lump in the breast, which was 38% among the women, became 93%. And also breast cancer is curable if detected early. Only 33%, 1/3 of the women knew about it. Now 91% of the women knew about this. So the pair test result, t-test result shows that the mean difference significantly improved after the intervention, both for the risk factors as well as for the signs and symptoms here. And the the knowledge about risk factors were very low in the community. If you see that the risk factor of menstruation, having early menstruation, like less than 12 years age, was only 2.7%. After the intervention, it has improved. Some of them has not improved substantially, but it has improved largely. So we can say we can see there is also a significant difference, mean difference among the scores of risk factors among both knowledge of signs and symptoms and knowledge of risk factors. So the breast cancer detection methods, if you see that in baseline, breast self, only 6.1% women knew about the breast self-examination, which became 58%. And clinical breast examination also 44% knew. Now it is 83%. Also, other methods also improved. We kept this as other method because we explained only 4 methods till mammography and sonography. So probably they would the pronunciation of sonography and biopsy they could not detect. That's why that was in local language, so they could not detect. That's why the knowledge level is also low, still low. And if you see the breast self-examination practices, then it was only 2.8% of men who were practicing breast self-examination out of 410, because there was dropout of 70 women after the end line. And we found that out of this 2.8 increased to 65% after the intervention. And they are mostly practicing, about 3/4 of the women are practicing it mostly monthly. So that's a good part of it. And those who are practicing it, around 3.7% of the women found that any lump or sign or symptoms of breast cancer. And for the no part, the reason behind it, there are some attitudinal issues. They think that it is not required, or they don't have time for it. Some of the women were afraid of the outcome. That's why, or they're regularly checking with the doctors for the clinical breast examination. That's why they're not doing the breast self-examination. And the clinical breast examination part, 19.7% were practicing the clinical, ever practiced the clinical breast examination. And it improved to 36% after our intervention. And this is these women were not part of our camp. Let me be very clearly tell that. That means 61 women after the intervention have gone to anywhere for the clinical examination. So the reason behind those who are not practicing is still, again, say the same. They said that it is not required. There is no signs and symptoms. Why should I go? There is also lack of time. A few women were scared to go to a doctor, and they were embarrassed to go to a doctor as well as. So the health system limitation is that we wanted it that the maternity home will be involved in the sustainable practices. But there was only one male doctor, and the women were not comfortable with the male doctor for the examination. He also for the training part we could not conduct because there is overburden of maternity, because it's a maternity home, and there are also outpatient. We could not conduct his training as well as for the clinical breast examination. And the primary health centers, which also runs in limited human resources, like shortages of nurse. That's why there is also extra burden. And in the field, we've also found some of the women are not coming because they are partly because in urban area they're involved in job or childcare. That's why there is other limitation. So from this study, we can say that there is low knowledge of signs and symptoms and risk factor even in Mumbai, women in Mumbai in this low socioeconomic area. And this study found significant improvement can be done in the knowledge of breast cancer signs and symptoms, risk factor, as well as breast self-examination practices improved at a large scale. So in the national program, we may think of that using such small group intervention, but we can say that there is definitely at the rural area also, there is also the limitation is that human resources are limited. It's very difficult to implement such program at the rural at the other primary care level facility. We are also doing it with ASA at the rural, planning it to do at the rural level. We are hoping for a good result. Let's see. Thank you so much. And these are our partners. We would like to thank Tata Memorial Hospital as well as Mumbai Municipal Corporation of Greater Mumbai for it. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ranjan, for excellent presentation. Any questions? If there, participants will put in the chat box, and you can see later on. Manoj, would you like to, as a discussion, say something at this point, or you talk at the end?
Sir, I'll talk at the end, sir. So I will do it at the end.
Yeah. So since this is the time, I can ask Ranjan.
Yes,
Ranjan, can hear me? Ranjan?
Please. Yes, sir.
No, this is an interesting study, but I have observation.
Yes, sir.
Always when you put some kind of intervention study, you have to have study arm as well as control arm.
Yeah, true.
From your presentation, I don't find any control arm. So whatever changes is taking place,
not done a control.
So only limited. So that should have been major limitation of your study. That since you did not have resource and also time to bring a control group, otherwise it would have been really better, because its credibility increases if you have a good control group to compare it. Okay.
Absolutely true, sir.
So this is one limitation. Second one, when you design any study, you have to give the basis. Always you have, I was seeing that you have given 4 objectives, right?
Yes, sir.
There were 4 objectives. Study design depends on one objective, primary objective. So you should divide your 4 objectives into 2. One primary objective, and then rest 3 you can make as a secondary objective. So your sample size will never be obliged to be driven by secondary objective. It will always be obliged to take care of primary objective. Okay? Are you listening me?
Yes, sir.
So this is the second point.
Yeah,
third point, when you have some current knowledge, because your intervention is mainly to improve their knowledge, awareness, so that they can go for the checkup and find their status. Is it not?
Yes, sir. True.
So then in that situation, you have to bring a good study design, how much anticipated change you are expecting. Because when you put some intervention, you have to go with your hypothesis that how much change you are anticipating because of the particular intervention which you are placing. All these things are missing in your presentation. Maybe you may be having, but these are things, if you are not, you can write in your paper so that it becomes publishable. Okay?
Sir,
So,
right. So
Hmm.
actually, these things are there. I have, because of the limited time, probably I could not
No,
highlight.
no, that's okay. That's why if you are having, it's fine. You can add it.
Thank you.
I thought that I can make suggestion to you.
Sure, sir. Thank you so much, sir.
Hmm.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so let us go for the third presenter, that Livina. Livina is going to speak on mapping the hotspots of lifestyle diseases using geospatial technique, a case study of Kerala. Livina, are you available? Am I audible to you? Please respond so that I can understand. Yes, you are
Hello,
listening.
sir. Hello,
Yes,
sir.
yes, yes. So it is your turn.
Okay,
Please go ahead and make presentation.
okay,
Take
sir.
10 minutes
So,
time you take, 10 to 12 minutes. After that, we will have some questions.
okay, sir. So, good evening to all. The topic of my presentation is mapping the hotspots of lifestyle diseases using geospatial techniques, a case study of Kerala. So, as we all know, next to the basic needs like food, shelter, and clothing, we all give importance to the health of the human beings. So, that is one of the main concern of today's world. And due to the technological development, which is intended to reduce people's effort in many fields, it has an increased chance for the occurrence of lifestyle diseases. So mainly why? Because it is to the massive extent, these diseases are caused by the behavioral risk factors such as tobacco use, unhealthy diet pattern, then insufficient physical activity, harmful use of alcohol, etc. So these are related to the daily habits of population. So mainly this diabetes, hypertension, certain forms of cancer, coronary diseases are considered as the lifestyle diseases which have a direct link to the lifestyle choices. So again, the study area I have taken is Kerala. Why? Because the recently published reports by the National Health Survey, Family and Health Survey report states that even if Kerala state of model is better or almost perfect health system, it is again under the increased risk of occurrence of lifestyle diseases. And it is said that around 14% of all death cases in Kerala are mainly caused by the coronary heart diseases. And also other statistics tells that the risk of lifestyle diseases are mainly highly distributed in throughout the districts of Kerala. So again, these geospatial techniques are highly helpful to monitor and identify the hotspots and also control the diseases in terms of mapping and identifying the hotspot area. So the aim of the study is to map the hotspots of lifestyle diseases in Kerala state, and for that two objectives I have: to identify the various lifestyle diseases which are prevailing in Kerala, then to map the cluster of various lifestyle diseases in this study area. So the study area is entire Kerala, which is located in the southern tip of India. Then the total area is like 38,863 square kilometer, and the state comprises of 14 districts with a population of around 3.3 crores, and which has a population density of around 860 people residing per square kilometer. So coming to the data and methodology, the study has been mainly carried out using the secondary data published by the National Family Health Survey during the year 2019 to 20. And for the study, I have taken the data related to blood sugar level, hypertension, tobacco use, alcohol consumption among adult, and also cancer screening test women have undergone in various districts. And these were the selected variables, and already these variables have been categorized into three classes according to the level of intensity. And these data was incorporated with the geospatial technologies in order to map the hotspots of lifestyle diseases. And the main tool I have used is the hotspot analysis, It is a statistical tool which is used for identifying the clustering or hotspots of any feature class. So this tool mainly identifies the cluster with high values like hotspots and low values which doesn't have any significance for that spread. And the resultant map will create a new output feature class where we can see the spatial clustering of any feature. So the results, coming to the results and discussion, the various variables I have taken is blood sugar level, which is found among adult women, which is categorized as high, very high, and very high to very high category, depending upon the glucose level found in the blood. So these are the maps which I have created, where you can see the hotspots of blood sugar level among women. So very high to very high level of blood sugar is found among the women category, that is mainly greater than 160 mg per deciliter of glucose level, and it is mainly visible that southern districts of Kerala are highly prone for occurrence of blood sugar, high to very high blood sugar level. And similarly in men population or male population also, we can say that high to very high category prevails among the male population, and that is also concentrated in the southern districts. So again, coming to the next variable, rate of hypertension, and it is again categorized depending upon the systolic and diastolic pressure as mildly elevated, moderately to severely elevated, and elevated blood pressure, considering these values. And again, it is visible that almost elevated blood pressure is mostly common among adult women and men population, and mainly it is concentrated among the southern districts of Kerala, which comprises Alappuzha and Pathanamthitta, Idukki districts. So like that, coming to the alcohol consumption rate among adults, it has been found that the hotspot is again found in the central and southern districts, where men population is highly prone for the consumption of alcohol. And for among the women, it is not significant. The alcohol consumption is not significant among women population. And coming to the cancer screening rate, that means the number of people who have undergone cancer screening, we can see that almost for the cervical cancer, the women of the southern districts have a high hotspot created in the southern district, and almost in the northern district there is a cold spot or not significant. And in case of breast cancer examination also, it is said that southern or the women residing in the southern districts are have undergone cancer screening test for breast cancer. So coming to the tobacco consumption among adults also, we can see that the hotspot are spread in the southern district, and only for women category, tobacco consumption is somewhat having cluster among the northern district. And also a comparison has been made between NFHS 4 data and 5 data, which was published in 2015 and 2020. And here we can see that blood sugar level among women has increased thrice from the rate of 4.8% to 13.1% over a period of 5 years. And also there is a considerable increase in men also in case of high blood sugar level who are taking medicine to control the blood sugar level. Then in like that, hypertension also have been increased from 5.5% to 15.5%. And only regarding alcohol consumption in women, it has been identified that it decreased from 1.6% to around 0.2%. And also in the among the male category or male population, alcohol consumption have decreased from 37 to 19%. Generally, we can say that maybe due to the awareness among the public have caused this reduction rate in case of alcohol consumption. And the result reveals that almost southern districts of Kerala are highly vulnerable for lifestyle diseases. And since this is a study dependent on the secondary data, the reason cannot be identified as a direct cause, but we can say that urbanization and change in lifestyle pattern or the unhealthy diet can be considered as the main causes for hotspot of lifestyle diseases occurring in the southern districts of Kerala. In the conclusion, I can say that this study was mainly conducted for analyzing the hotspots or various clusters of lifestyle diseases in Kerala. And again, even though in some variables the rates are decreasing, it is obvious that adult men, especially where men are at the high risk of getting affected by various diseases related to blood sugar and blood pressure level, and also the death rates are also high regarding these coronary diseases. And the number of women appearing for screening tests, cancer screening tests, reveals the fact that women are also at high risk for the occurrence of cancer among the adult women. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much for completing your presentation in time. Libina,
Thank you.
questions will be asked by the participants in the chat box, so you can check later on.
Okay,
But
sir.
I was asking that your objective is to identify the hot spot with respect to certain risk factors.
Yes, sir.
LSV. Can it not be done without using GIS? Because you are using GIS
Yes.
methodology. That without that also you can do it.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Since I am used with
No, I'm
GIS
asking
technique,
you, what is the added? No, what is the added advantage you are visualizing by making presentation through GIS or geospatial dimensions?
Okay, sir. Sir, geospatial technology actually gives an immediate results. Like since we are getting a result instantly, like, and we can map it in a way so that it can create a immediate effect among the planners, so that they can easily identify the hotspots spatially.
That we
When we
agree.
go for
We can agree, but that is not geospatial. It's a map. If you have a program and you have map of your Kerala state, district wise map is available, you can plug in data and you'll get the status of different district with respect to those risk factors. And then you can say that where is the hot spot. Is it not?
Yes, sir.
Now,
yes, sir. Regarding this, taking these variables, we can identify the hotspots, sir. Regarding that means this, we can consider the high values where it is prone for occurrence of high values, and we can identify that clustering of diseases.
But as a demographer, as a statistician, we have to go a little beyond that.
Okay, sir.
Why it is concentrated in southern area, not in northern, except one risk factor, and that is tobacco consumption among women is greater in North Kerala. The rest of the risk factors are concentrated in South Kerala.
Yes. So since this study is wholly depend on secondary data, we can't identify. I couldn't identify any direct reasons. So if we go for any primary survey, when we go for any primary survey and collect the questionnaire, we can identify the reasons, further reasons. Maybe some of the diet pattern which is followed by the districts in the southern part can be a reason, because Kerala diet is mainly concentrated on saturated fat. So maybe that is the risk and the changing. And we can also consider the urbanization pattern or the like nature of occupation, which can have certain influence in this result.
Okay, good. But these things are available. You have to explore it.
Yes.
You have to explore and try to find the linkages between
Okay.
other exploratory variable to explain why South Kerala is having. I do not know whether it is fat or some other factors.
Okay, sir.
Smoking is also more in southern Kerala as
Okay.
compared to north. So it is not fat, it is in a certain lifestyle indicator.
Yes, sir.
Why the
Yes.
people are with again you have to check whether the people are more coming from the Gulf region and they are influencing the
Yes.
back home the people's behavior. What these things need to be explored. Okay.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes. Sure,
Okay.
sir.
Okay. Anyway,
Okay.
thanks. It is interesting. Just think
Thank you, sir.
about further
Okay, sir.
explanations. Okay.
Sure, sir.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Good. Good. Thank you. Now, the last paper is by Mahadev Brahmankar, Nandlal Misra, and Gursaran Singh Rana. Who will make presentation?
Sir, Mahadev
Anthropometric risk
Brahmankar.
factor. Huh?
I am going to present, sir. Mahadev Brahmankar. This is.
Mahadev.
Yes, sir.
Okay, Mahadev, it is your turn.
Yes,
Go
sir.
ahead.
Sir, is it visible, sir? My slides?
Yes, yes, yes. Make it the slideshow.
I did, sir, but it is in. Okay. Okay.
Now it's
Okay, yeah.
working.
Yes, good, good.
Good afternoon, one and all. Myself, Mahadev Brahmankar. I am going to present a paper on anthropometric risk factor of non-communicable diseases among the elderly population of India. Evidences from the Lassi Wave 1. For this, we have the collaborative work which is done by Mohit Pandey, Gursimran Singh Rana, Balram Rai, Nandlal Mishra, and Anandi Shukla. So we are these are the contents for my presentations. Now moving toward the introduction. Aging is a natural phenomenon that is inevitable with any demographical transition. In 2019, the global population consists of 703 million person aged 65 and above, which is
Mahadev,
yes,
you
sir.
can skip introduction because introduction we know.
Okay,
Okay,
sir. Okay,
you
sir.
can skip and go to second.
Okay, sir.
This also is
So
not required. This also
okay,
not
sir.
required.
Okay,
Come
sir.
to the
So based
objective.
okay, sir.
Come to the
So
objective.
based on okay, sir. Based on the all literature, that suggesting that the process of aging is going on and the increasing the NCDs among the older adults. So found more prevalent and this NCD associated with the sedentary lifestyles, physical activity, unhealthy way of living, and means basically the physical activities and all different physical indices. So based on this existing literature, we have the objectives, two objectives to estimate the prevalence of anthropometric indices, that is BMI, body mass index, waist circumference, waist to hip ratio, and average diagnosed NCDs among the elderly in India, and to examine the relationship of these indices with the selected chronic health condition among the older adults in India. So data for this study, we have used the recently released the Lassi Wave first, the longitudinal study in India. We have restricted the sample 45 and above, which is 65,562. In the data, the survey recorded the self-reported prevalence of diagnosed chronic morbidities and directly examined the anthropometric measures like weight, height, as well as waist and hip circumference. And the primary outcome variables of our study, we have included that cardiovascular disease, chronic respiratory diseases, diabetes, cancer, and combination of two or more, that is multimorbidities. And for the strong validation of the study, we have adjusted with the help of various factors at the individual level, like age, age, sex, marital status, and other, and like socio-economical factors, background characteristics, and we have adjusted with the help of physical activities, behavioral factor, physical activities, smoking, drinking behavior, and biological risk factor, body mass indexes, waist circumference, and waist to hip ratio for the study. So for the categorization of the anthropometric indices, we have used according to the WHO criteria. So these are the categorization of the BMI in the different categories. Similarly, the waist hip ratio and waist circumference also divided into two categories: low risk and high risk, which is different in men and women. So we can see here. And methodology part, we see we computed the prevalence of overview, overweight and obesity, low and high risk of waist circumference, waist to hip ratio among the older adults in 45 and above India. Descriptive statistics are used to systematically examine how the prevalence of self-reported underlying condition varies across the different socioeconomic and subgroups of physical and physical body indices. We applied the chi-square test to measure the degree of association between outcome and explanatory variable. Finally, we fit the multiple logistic regression model to examine the adjusted effect of biological risk factor on the prevalence of self-reported single and multimorbid conditions. So for the study, our result based on the status of anthropometric indices in India among the older adults, we have got these are the overall prevalence of underweight, overweight, and obesity among the older adult aged 45 and above are 20.64% underweight, 20.65% overweight, and 7.38% obesity in the older adults. Among the urban older adults, the 15% of the people are the obese, while in the rural areas, the only 4% obese. So here we can see that the urban rural differences, which is in obese persons are more in urban areas, like 3 times more as compared to the rural. In India, approximately 26% of the older adults aged 45 and above had high risk waist circumference, and 77.25 had a high risk of waist hip ratio. Extreme gender differential are visible in the prevalence of high risk waist circumference, with almost 40% of females and having a high risk of waist circumference in contrast with 9% of males. Similarly, 76% of high risk waist hip ratio in males, while 78% of female under the high risk category. Based on the ever diagnosed self-reported NCT among the older adults in India, the ever diagnosed prevalence we have got, the approximately 29% of individual aged 45 and above had a CVD. Means out of the three, one had chances of the CVD. And the overall prevalence of chronic respiratory diseases, diabetes, and cancer among the older adults was found 6.5%, 12.3%, and 0.6% respectively. Based on the multimorbidity, that is more than two diseases among the older adults, found 0.5%. And when we go from the higher age group, so we have found aged 75 and above age group compared to the previous less than 75 age group, the 10.2% of coronary heart diseases and cancer 7% and multimorbidity 16.2% was highest. The proportion of older adults having multimorbidity was highest in individual with richest quintile wealth 20.1%, while other has less as compared to this. Now, association of anthropometric indices and ever diagnosed NCDs. Based on this result, we have got the prevalence of the NCDs increases as we go higher in the BMI category. That is the proportion of older adults having CVD, chronic respiratory disease, diabetes, multimorbidity, and highest in the older adults belonging to the obese BMI category. That is 52%, 9.7%, and 27% and 27.4% respectively. The prevalence of CVD and diabetes, cancer, and multimorbidity were higher among the older adults with the high risk of waist circumference, which can see into the on the slides. And likewise, the for the high risk waist to hip ratio, we have the CVD 30.8, diabetes 13.6, and cancer 0.7%, and multimorbidity 13.4% compared to the low risk means which is high in the high risk waist hip ratio, but low in the low risk of waist depression. Now, based on the multiple logistic regression by using the anthropometric indices as a risk factor predictor for ever diagnosed NCDs. So here we can see that the odds for the CVD when we goes from the BMI category normal to the obese, it increases. So it shows that and in the obese category, the 2.3 times more odds having the CVDs compared to the normal. Similarly, for the waist to hip ratio and waist circumference, we have the more odds compared to the low risk categories. Similarly, pattern observed for the diabetes, as we go from the normal to the obese category, we have the more chances of the diabetes. And for the chronic respiratory, there is the abnormal behavior of the odds. it is higher among the underweight as well as the overweight obese category, which can see the 16% more having the odds as compared to normal. Similarly, for the waist circumference. And when we have the more than two chronic diseases for a person, multimorbidity, here the odds we can see that similar that normal to the obese, we have going to 2.37 times more odds of having the multimorbidity compared to the normal person. Similarly, result for the waist to hip ratio and waist circumference. And these are the odds are adjusted by the age, sex, schooling level, work status, residence, and behavioral factor like physical activity and ever smoke drinking status. Now, the discussion and conclusion part, our study shows obesity is considered to be the major risk factor for the developing several cardiovascular diseases, similar to the and shown in the study. The result indicate that the prevalence of obesity varies significantly across the different socio-economical and demographic strata in India. Waist to hip ratio and waist circumference have been considered as a better proxy measure for quantifying obesity and fat distribution. This is a consistent result with this. And several studies in different socio-cultural settings have reported that individuals with BMI range in the obese and over counterparts were higher risk of developing heart disease, hypertension, stroke, CVD, diabetes than the normal person. The present study, along with the others, validate the significant association of high waist to hip ratio and high waist circumference with diabetes, hypertension, highlighting the validity of the high waist to hip ratio, high waist circumference as a robust measure for the risk of the CVDs, diabetes, and hypertension. The BMI, obese and waist circumference high risk, high waist to hip ratio high risk have the greater risk of having multimorbidity compared with the normal risk person. Now, the conclusion, our study is the nationwide representative data from the first ever population-based survey on aging in India. It provides the comprehensive picture for the physical indices, which I have discussed: body mass index, waist to hip ratio, waist to hip ratio, and waist circumference among the older adults. It also provides the prevalence of various NCDs and investigate the association of BMI, waist circumference, and waist to hip ratio with the NCDs. The study result made it evident that being in high risk BMI, waist circumference, waist to hip increases the NCD risk and multimorbidity among the older adults. Thus, the policy on reducing the share of the elderly population in the high risk group of BMI, waist hip ratio, waist circumference should be followed the multi-sectoral approach and focus on the specific subgroup of the elderly required. These are the limitations. The NCD's prevalence may be the underreported as it because the individual self-reported and chronic disease stigma. And secondly, the adjusting our model behavioral factors we have considered ever smoked and ever drinking, so which might be the not much stronger indicate that intensity of the duration of smoking and drinking. Lastly, the survey cross-sectional design does not infer the causal relationship between the physical body indices and NCDs. These are the references, and thank you.
Thank you very much for the last slide, showing the aged people smiling. That's good. But you are trying to find the risk factors. Okay, Mahadev, you have made your presentation. As usual, questions will be asked by the presenter in chat box. If they are, then you can see the chat box. Okay. From
Okay,
our
sir.
side, I can see that you have tried to analyze the LASI data. I
Yes,
was
sir.
wondering, what is the new you have found? Probably this has been analyzed by several researchers in the past.
Oh, sir, actually, we have gone through the various literature. So, Indian context, we don't have the big level of sub data on NCDs as well as major anthropometric measured, that is waist circumference, means waist to hip ratio and all. So, we thought that means we have to what is the impact of risks of these biological risk factors on this chronic diseases. So, basically we have this idea to analyze what will be the risk of these factors.
But
Other studies.
I would say that consider male and female separately, because biologically the cutoff point of BMI, their waist circumference and other indicators, they have different cutoff. Because of that, male and females are having different
Yes, sir.
requirements. So, there is a level where you can compare. Risk factor you can
Okay.
compare, but not as an outcome indicator, which you have tried to. For example, BMI examining with the factor may not be really a right approach unless you have some specific question in mind that this is because of gender, because BMI from this indicator you cannot make out that there is a gender issue into that. So your framework misses that gender issue, and whereas you have to consider both together. So if you have taken together, you have to bring some variable which can tell you what is the gender issue, why males are behaving differently than the females, or female are behaving differently than male. What could be the reason besides whatever you have given? Some behavioral factors.
Yes, sir. In study, we have included that male and female is six, but we have not did a deep analysis according to that. We have just included that variable. Okay, sir. We will
No,
see
I'm
into
just
that.
simple. Just think over why I'm
Okay.
saying, because women per se will be different than the males as the indicator. Number one. Number
Yes,
two,
sir.
within male and within female, there's a lot of geospatial dimension. Spatial
Okay.
dimension is there.
Yes, sir.
The women of Kerala or women of Tamil Nadu will be behaving very different than the women of Orissa or from
Yes,
the West Bengal in terms of their NCD behavior or risk factors. So that need to be brought in, in this analysis. Might through
okay.
light.
Okay.
Like
Okay,
your
sir.
previous speaker has presented that within Kerala, there was South Kerala has greater risk factors of NCD than the
Yes.
North Kerala. Similar way in India, when you are taking LASI as a whole, there are some interested variations. So that also need to be considered or adjusted when you are taking the inferences. Okay?
Okay. Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Okay, Manoj, our presentation is over.
Yes, sir.
So now
If
it
there
is your
is,
turn.
yes, sir, sure. Uh, So all the papers presented were absolutely fantastic, and they had put their efforts in preparation of their abstracts. They have put forward their efforts in the analysis, whatever the time they have taken. So the first paper was on dust changing, and I would like to thank the chairperson for including some of the discussion, which I would not have, could not have done it. But with your experience, sir, it is very nice that you could give the critical comments for each of the papers, sir. I will be including that in discussion as well. So the first paper was by Anuj Singh, Dust Changing Lifestyle and Other Health-Related Effects on Non-Communicable Disease Among Men and Women, which he has analyzed using the National Family Health Survey data, which he depicted that the southern regions have higher diabetics, asthma, and heart diseases. However, there could be the differences could be because of various other reasons as well. The reasons has to be found out critically. That is one aspect of it. Then he also mentioned that the Christians have got higher risk factors. However, as the chairman had discussed very clearly, has stated that the sample size of the Christian population would be concentrated only in some of the states. Therefore, if you are analyzing the region per se, we need to analyze the data state specific rather than the all India specific analysis could be done. The second presenter could not be present, or he was absent for the for the session. The next presenter was this was an intervention study. Basically, he stated that before the intervention and after intervention, how the changes have been taking place. Naturally, in any study, the intervention, when the intervention is going on, the baseline study has been carried out. Be sure that the awareness and the risk awareness among the among the population would be much lower. It increases with the intervention, but how are we looking at the intervention for a time-bound period, or it continues for a period of time? Second point is,
Sorry, you are not audible. Can you repeat the point? I am
oh,
noting.
now am I audible?
Yeah. Yes, sir.
So what? So before I was talking that before the intervention and after the intervention, there is always a change. But how far the intervention could take place for the entire population to understand the concepts? That's one aspect. Once the intervention is found out, then whether those people who are intervening, when they back off with the intervention, does it sustain the awareness program or not? That's one more thing which we need to understand, which most of the studies, intervention studies, fail to understand. But however, if you could include this kind of a thing, that would be better off. As the chairperson has already stated, that the study design could not be, the study design could have been better explained. The presenter also stated that the time limitations are always there. Yes, if that also could be taken into account, it would have been a better study. The primary the objectives has also to be concentrated at a certain time, or it can be less number of objectives. The primary objective should be the focus rather than all 4 objectives. Then the third study was on by Libina, mapping hotspot and lifestyle diseases using geospatial technique, case study of Kerala. Yes, now the question is, this study, the lifestyle diseases study, was taken only for the what you call sample. It is not considered for the entire PSUs. So I had a little bit of a doubt, and I would like to ask a question whether all this what you call PSUs are not considered, and some of the districts are much more urbanized. Therefore, it could be possible that those urban districts may have reported higher level of non-communicable diseases than those areas where it is less urbanized. That has to be considered once more. Again, one has to look into the geospatial technique, how it could be done. That as the person has also stated, that it could be looked at by the latitude and longitude. That is, I'm forgetting the name. Yeah. So that those techniques also could be used to analyze the data set. One has to look into it. The last presenter was on anthropometric risk factors on non-communicable diseases among elderly population of India by Mahadev. Looking at the LASI data, they have created index. It is a good that some of index has been created by using the 3 variables. I think it's, yes, as I understand it is 3 variables, and then looked at the non-communicable diseases like cancer relationship, association of cancer, diabetics, and CVDs, and the chronic respiratory diseases also. But as the chair has stated, as he has come out with his experience and with his understanding, he has stated that to differentiate between the male and female disease separately, because their body mass index changes as and when as due to various reasons. We all know that. So that these are the 4 papers which we have looked at. If there are any more comments and other things, you are all welcome to discuss about it. If there is a time, sir, we can take question. We can ask clarification from each of them as well.
Thank you, Manoj. It's excellent summarization of all the presentation. I think authors will be very happy to take note of the suggestions and the comments which you have offered. And since there is no provision of asking questions directly, so I'm not in a position to take their questions. And in chat box also, I don't see that anyone asking questions.
Sir,
So-
there are 15 participants altogether. Can we make everybody panelists so that they can put on whatever? They
Yeah.
are related to each other, the presenter, that can
So
be
if,
done.
yeah, if they can put their question in the chat box,
No, we
chat
can
box.
make them panelists, sir, during the questions
Yeah.
now.
Yes, yes.
So
If they
that
can, if they
ask
want,
also.
ask them if
Yes, sir.
anyone is interested.
Yes. सबको अंदर डाल दीजिए.
Sir, with your permission, I have few points for the third presenter, like sorry, the fourth one, and also few clarification to make regarding my presentation, so that it can clear some of the doubts. If you permit me, sir.
Who is
Ranjan
calling?
Pushti. Ranjan
This is
Pushti.
Ranjan.
Ranjan Pushti.
Ranjan.
Yes, sir.
Ranjan.
Yes, sir.
Would you like to clarify on your paper?
Some of the points I just wanted to highlight because I could not highlight many points.
Please.
Sir, and also one comment on the next presenter, like the fourth one. Okay. So just a few points what Manu sir said. I think, sir, you have rightly summarized at first that we have not taken the control group because of time and resources, resource constraint. Number one. Number two, we have not gone to the population because we are doing specific target oriented. Also, there was like a resource constraint that was there. And the second point is that in study design, we intended to see 10% increase. However, we have seen that awareness has improved by 50%. Like it was 49%, which are not highlighted in the paper, and it was now 100%. Like they have heard about breast cancer, and also the main difference are more than two points. It's in the index of 10 and 13. So I can say that we have achieved the target in terms of this awareness level. Number one. Number 2 point was whether we can generalize this for the entire population. So the main we really can generalize for the lower socioeconomic area, but I don't think we can generalize this for the whole population. However, the main objective of this part was intervention was basically testing the primary level healthcare facility, involving the primary level healthcare facility in this. But however, we partly failed in this regard in terms of because we could not able to train the doctor for the clinical breast examination. But our in terms of awareness level, we could able to do it, and we have achieved sufficient result. Number one. And the other point is that in terms of we could not train the doctor, but we arranged camps, and we saw a very huge, large number of women, not only from the study group, but from the outside of the women were coming. We had 4 sessions of clinical breast examination where we targeted 10 women for each of the session. We got around 15 to 20 women, and many of the women we could not do it because of the lack of human resources. So that's the point I would like to say about my paper. And the second the paper by Miss Labina, I guess. I could not if I can't pronounce. It's about Kerala. So just I wanted to raise that there are one district. There is one district actually that's second from south, where I found that both men and women both have very hypertension is higher at the higher level, as well as the glucose level is very high level. Only one district. If you can sufficiently target on that district, if you find some literature on that district, it will be definitely helping you. Other point is that there is NFHS, National Family Health Survey. Of course, it is not designed for the like non-communicable disease part, but there are some information like smoking, all the aspect. If she can analyze this, will give her good idea about why the southern coastal district, I think Kollam district, if I can pronounce it properly, that district has both men and women has hypertension, huge amount of hypertension, as well as the glucose level is also on higher range. Thank you so much.
Good. Good. Ranjan, very nicely you have defended your work and also the question. But regarding your work, I would like to say that you have challenged of publishing it. First, when you submit for publication, then certain questions will be asked. So you have to present in that form so that some of the questions which we have raised, you have addressed there. But the way you are responding, that gives kind of excuse that no, we could not do that. It was not available. The medical officers we could not. This research में नहीं चलता है. Research में you have to say that these are the things, these were the possible, and these were not possible. वो नहीं किया क्यों किया वो चला गया ऐसे नहीं उसको बोलते हैं. As a researcher, you have said that you had planned to train say X number of people, and out of X minus Y have not appeared. So you can say that your strength was this. So that way you have to, so that efficacy of that package comes down when that is not fully evolved. Okay. So this is my suggestion. Not to
Thank you so much.
not to always defend, but to say that yes, that is by limitation. There is a difference between your population research and medical research. In medical research, these are the things which are taken very seriously, whereas in case of population research, yes, okay, chalta hai, to wahan par behavioral aspect becomes dominant there, and that's why you can say that. Okay. So that's okay. There's nothing wrong, but I'm just saying you have to defend in that manner. Number one. Number two, when you are raising question on Lavina's work or suggestion, that's a good suggestion. But as you have mentioned, NFHS was not having a main objective for the NCD risk factor, but we had included certain questions to be utilized in a manner in which it should be, in the sense that, for example, sugar level. If you take sugar level in isolation, it is not very good indicator. It's a random sugar. Random sugar is not a good indicator of diabetes measurement, right? Along with that, you have to take certain correlates or cofactors together to measure what is the situation of diabetes. So that is the reason, and that's why some, as you have mentioned, there are other lifestyle factors also may be taken along with that, and probably that will throw light on this. As I was also guessing that she has to check from NFHS or from other data whether some occupational differences are there in that population, or the people who are having some particular type of work which demands or which let them to use more tobacco like gutka or something like that, and or they are in the transport, so that's why they are using those kind of things have to be found out. Okay, anyway, it is good. Any other person?
Thank you so much.
Sir, we can ask Dr. Suryakant also is there as a report here. If he has got anything.
Suryakant, I wanted to hear you. Apna video bhi on karo. Suryakant.
Thank you very much, sir, but I'm very much okay with all the presentation, and I have my all regards with all of you, and I wish all the best to all of you.
Video to on karo. Video to on karo.
I'm at home, sir. I'm at home, sir.
Achha, that's why you are not putting your video on.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'm just in t-shirt, sir. Actually, that's why.
Okay. Anyway, then that's good thing. All of us are working from home. You know that for last many months I have not gone office. I'm working from home, but remain busy like this. So anyway, good to see you. Good.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Okay, Manoj. So we can wind up this.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much for chair, rapporteur, and all the presenters who have put their efforts in, especially during the weekend. I'll thank you all of you. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Professor Arvind Pandey.
Okay, thank you. Bye.
Thank you, Dr. Suryakant. Thank you very much.
Thank you,
sir. Thank you. We can leave the meeting here. बंद कर दें